back, everybody, to Playing the Tips. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Everybody's hanging in there with all the COVID-19 stuff that's going on out there. Seems like things are kind of ramping up around the country again. Hopefully we can avoid some shutdowns. We can keep our sports going and maintain a little bit of normalcy in our lives for once. So, talking about golf now. We had another great week last week. We watched Dustin Johnson make a little bit of a return to his normal form. He kind of was struggling a little bit, in my opinion, ever since the coronavirus shutdown. He played in the tailor-made driving relief event and kind of had a really bad showing. I don't know how seriously he was taking it. Maybe just kind of showed up and decided to hit the course. Struggled a little bit there. After that, he was cut at the Charles Schwab and then gradually made some improvement after that. He had a decent finish at an event that he was one of the favorites at the RBC Heritage in South Carolina. So he's back to his normal form. I was looking through some statistics and he has 21 wins on tour. So since 2008, he has 21 wins. The only other player with that many wins on tour is Tiger Woods with 21 wins since 2008. So they have 21 wins apiece on tour since 2008. That's pretty impressive. Hall of Fame career for sure for DJ. And another notable event that happened this last week is finally Colin Morikawa. His made cut streak ends at 22. Very impressive start to his PGA Tour career. For sure there are bright things in his future. So those were the two noteworthy things that I noticed from this last week. So the important thing is, of course, focusing on this week. We're headed to the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Michigan, be played in Detroit, and was a kind of an interesting event last year. You know, it was the inaugural event of the Rocket Mortgage Classic being played in Detroit at Detroit Golf Club North, which was a new course. It kind of had some promises of, you know, kind of a narrow golf course, lots of trees, long rough, but the rough just wasn't really impactful last year, and guys just went extremely low. The cut last year was at 5 under par, which was the lowest cut on tour since 2016. So possibly the easiest course these guys played all year, especially where there weren't some of the top names on tour in the field. So some of the lower players on tour are shooting really low last year. So word is that the rough is going to be grown out longer, so we don't see scores, 20 under par or better this year. So maybe a little bit more narrow, a little longer rough, a little more punitive to the players this year. In any case, it's hosting its second edition of the Rocket Mortgage Classic, 7,300 yard, par 72 course. So considering what the course is expected to be laid out like, probably a little bit narrow fairways, might be a little bit tough for the players to stop the ball on relatively small, quick greens. So some statistics that I would recommend looking at this week. Driving accuracy, I think, will come into play some. Strokes gained tee to green is always a really important statistic, probably more so this week when you're factoring in, off the tee and then your approach shots as well. But strokes gained on approach and greens in regulation and rough proximity. I think those are the statistics we really need to look at this week. I think guys, if they hit the fairway, they're going to have a good chance of hitting the green. There's really not a whole lot of ways that they can prevent guys from going really low again if guys are hitting the fairway. So that comes into play. Greens in regulation speaks for itself. They get the ball on the green, guys are going to be making birdies. So I think proximity from the rough is a really important one. So if the guys get into the rough, who are the guys that can get it out of the rough and onto the green? And obviously putting always comes into play. Probably, I think, in my opinion, less so this week. Greens are not extremely tough this week. Last year guys were not great putters that were near the top of the leaderboard. So putting does come into play. You got to have a decent week at least putting to be able to win. But I'm not looking at the top putters on tour as guys that are going to win this week necessarily. The last couple weeks we've been treated to some of the better fields that we've seen on tour in a non-major event sometimes. So this week it takes a little bit of a drop off as far as the quality of the field strength, but there definitely are some big names playing this week. Some of those names you might recognize: Ricky Fowler, Bryson DeChambeau, Hideki Matsuyama, Patrick Reed, Jason Day, Tony Finau, Webb Simpson. So those are some guys that definitely could contend this week. After looking through all the statistics and recent results from last year, considering a lot of things, there are a lot of guys that I really like this week. So I'm definitely going to throw them in my core plays article on DFSCheatSheet.com. I recommend you get on there and look at it. One thing that I do want to be sure to mention, just in case anybody hasn't really thought about it, I'm sure people won't overlook it, but be sure to, I would say, wait as long as you reasonably can to get your lineups in for events for the foreseeable future, because as you saw last week, guys could be withdrawing from the field even the day of the event because of the whole coronavirus thing. If their caddy tests positive, if they test positive, guys might just withdraw as a precaution if they're not feeling well. So something that you really got to consider as you're making your lineups. Make sure that your guys are actually in the field and in play before you go ahead and make your lineups. So best of luck to everybody this week. Looking forward to another event. Hopefully we keep moving forward and can continue this PGA Tour season. We'll see you next week.